I think it's really important to note how Jim Carrey only ever comes out of retirement for these movies. There's something beautiful in that. Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I'm reviewing Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This is easily the best one of the entire series so far. And a big part of that is because Shadow is introduced in this film, and the film does follow him for a majority of it. However, it also has its issues with the other storylines. One of the many storylines in this film follows Dr. Robotnik finding a long-lost ancestor of his, who happens to also be played by Jim Carrey, and when I tell you, some of their scenes are so out of left field and just practically had me crying from laughter. It's truly something. Even if it doesn't work the entire time, it's those moments that are absolute highlights in the entire film. I just need to rewatch this movie for those moments alone, honestly. So shout out to Jim Carrey for being so animated as a human character in this film, even though he's surrounded by all actually animated characters. There were many times where he was the most energetic and just wildly acting of these characters on the screen. So in general, once again, shout out Jim Carrey. As for the main trio of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, I appreciate them in this movie. Their bond in this, how they grow into it. It was a little shaky at first, but how they grow into it is very much appreciated. What their trio stands for in the sense of familial themes is really nice. But I gotta say, of those three, the standout by far is Knuckles. Idris Elba just commits to the role, and I love it so much. There's just a willingness and dedication that comes through in the voice acting because it's not afraid to be so absurd with it. There are multiple times where Knuckles is screaming and Idris Elba just screams in the most hilarious way possible. It's truly just amazing. But now getting to the biggest and best aspect of the entire film, Keanu Reeves as Shadow. It truly is countless the amount of times that Shadow appears on the screen and is just the coldest and baddest character, not only in this film, but possibly in all of cinema history. I'm being a bit facetious, but it may not be far off. Shadow as a character is just so cool, and Keanu Reeves voicing him is not just a fun celebrity casting. Keanu Reeves brings such a wonderful energy to this character that just makes you believe he's Shadow. The voice acting is up there, if not better than anyone else in the entire film, and I'm truly glad we got Keanu Reeves as Shadow. Like it sounded like amazing casting before, but this movie just solidified how perfect it truly is. And that Akira shot, come on. Come on. That's the best shot in the entire film. But with all the praising out of the way, I must say that this film is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And a lot of that does come from the human characters that are outside of Dr. Robotnik. For example, Kristen Ritter is in this movie, and why? Like, genuinely, why is she, or even her character for the most part, is in this film? It's just bland. You've seen it before, and it doesn't really add too much to the story. And for James Marsden, aside from one scene where he's utilized well, it seemed like the movie didn't know what to do with him. And as for every other human character, well, they're just kind of forgettable for the most part, so just moving on from that now. I also gotta say that sometimes the CGI is pretty shoddy. Like it's just not the best to look at, and sometimes the background especially was it was rough. For the most part, though, it didn't take me out of the movie, so it's not the biggest complaint, and I've definitely seen way worse earlier this year, but it's still something to mention. And that pacing, it's kind of wonky at times, like really wonky. But again, it's not the end of the world, especially towards the end of the film. You're just having such a blast, you kind of forgive a lot of this stuff. And with all that being said, I do think that this is going to be a major crowd pleaser. And I'm not just saying that because of the mid and post-credit scenes, which are good, and I'm very glad that that's where they're hopefully going to go for part 4, which now I'm excited for a part 4. But I do say it's going to be a crowd pleaser because in my press screening, the crowd went wild at times. Of course, especially for these post-credit scenes, but just the entire end of the film and other moments throughout the entire thing, it felt like it was nearing peak MCU levels of hype in the theater. And for as someone who very loosely knows anything Sonic lore-wise, I even got hyped too. Like, it's not the most insane thing to at least get excited for, which is a very nice thing to know because I'm just ready for the next one now. I give Sonic the Hedgehog 3 a 3 out of 5 stars. This truly surprised me with how good this was. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first 2 films in this, but this one, they're really starting to find their stride with it now, and I'm so excited to see where it goes next. But alright, those are my thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Be sure to let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.